The sound, man, it just tore through the air. 6 patrol cars, sirens wailing, lights flashing like a rogue disco ball off the surface of my backyard pool. We had a birthday cake floating face down near the deep end, a pink flamingo bobbing beside it, making this pathetic little squeak. That was the opening scene to my daughter's 12th birthday party, the day our suburban nightmare went federal. 3 hours earlier, everything was perfect. Zara was in remission. After 2 years of chemo and hospital chairs, every birthday felt like a goddamn miracle. We had unicorn floats, color-changing LEDs, and a guest list that included her entire medical team, 3 teachers, and the best neighbors who brought meals during the bad months. Dr. Elena Hartford, Zara's pediatric oncologist, she was our lifeline. She'd mentioned her husband was in state politics, but honestly, politicians and their spouses, they just blend into one big, irrelevant blob when you're navigating pediatric cancer. I was pulling up with the last-minute ice cream, Zara's favorite flavors, of course, when I saw it. The traffic light at the corner near our house. The yellow light was flickering weird, a pattern that didn't match the standard city programming I'd designed during my years as a traffic systems engineer. That was the same intersection where my wife Lily died 2 years ago. The police called it an unfortunate accident due to malfunctioning signals, but I spent months running the data, knowing something was off. Never found the proof. Today, though, wasn't about ghosts. Today was about celebrating that my girl was still here, still making terrible jokes about her wig collection. Then there was Karen Whitmore. She started her campaign against us the moment we moved into Willowbrook Estate, right around the time Zara's diagnosis flipped our world. It started petty, measuring our grass with an actual ruler, documenting the angle of our garbage cans. But when Zara got sick and our yard maintenance became less important than keeping our daughter alive, Karen's complaints escalated with a surgical cruelty. She'd call the city about our eyesore lawn while I was sleeping in a hospital chair, praying Zara would see another sunrise. Today, watching her pace behind our fence, clipboard thick with what looked like legal documents, I realized this wasn't about grass. This was personal. It was calculated. Around 2 p.m., the music was great. The kids were loud. The good kind of chaotic joy that comes with celebrating a cancer survivor. And then Karen emerged. Navy blazer, clipboard, measuring tape, and a goddamn police-issued bullhorn. Business formal for an HOA enforcement action. She raised that megaphone, her voice echoing across the quiet Saturday afternoon. Cinematic dialogue, the escalation. Karen, into the bullhorn, voice tight with self-righteous fury. Mr. Reedmont thinks he can ignore community standards. But I have documented 12 separate violations occurring simultaneously at this so-called birthday party. Excessive noise, unauthorized amplification equipment, violation of density restrictions, failure to obtain large gathering permits. Image, neighbors start gathering at their fences, phones out. The pool is bright blue, the siren lights are starting to pulse red-blue. Detective Blackwood, stepping closer to the fence, calm, measured. Ma'am. Detective Blackwood, 20-year veteran. I'm looking at your list here. Are you aware that 8 of these 12 violations you've listed do not exist in your HOA charter? I've dealt with neighborhood disputes before, and this is highly irregular. Image. Karen's face flushes. Her grip on the clipboard tightens, knuckles white. She doubles down. Karen, they are implied standards. And Municipal Code 847 clearly states poolside gatherings exceeding 6 people require. Detective Blackwood, ma'am. I know Municipal Code 847. It governs the permitting for commercial septic hauling. I'm gonna need you to step back from the fence and lower your voice. You are creating a public disturbance at a child's birthday party. Image, a neighbor. Mrs. Johnson subtly raises her phone higher to record. Dr. Elena Hartford, stepping out of the house, casually, towel over one shoulder. Voice is calm, measured, used to giving orders in an OR. Officer, I'd like to report a false emergency call and harassment of a minor cancer patient. Image. The cops freeze. Karen looks from the governor's wife, back to the cop, realizing the legal hole she just dug for herself. The sirens finally stop, replaced by a terrible silence. Elena, voice gaining authority. Mrs. Whitmore, I've been observing your behavior for 3 months as part of an ongoing federal investigation. Your pattern of harassment toward this family, particularly targeting a child receiving cancer treatment, has Been extensively documented by federal authorities. Image. Karen's face cycles through confusion, fear, and then a venomous determination. Me, stepping forward, heart pounding. Federal investigation? Elena, what the hell is going on? Elena. Jackson, everything is falling into place exactly as we planned. We needed her to demonstrate her harassment pattern in front of law enforcement and community witnesses. Mrs. Whitmore has been under surveillance for months as part of a much larger investigation into municipal corruption, insurance fraud, and systematic targeting of vulnerable families using illegally obtained government data. Image. The neighbors gasp. The sound of a phone ringing, frantic, cuts through the tension. Councilman Derek Ashford, sprinting across my lawn, sweating through a perfect $3,000 suit, phone glued to his ear. Karen, we need to leave right now. They know about Sunset Ridge and worse. They know about the federal database. Image. Derek accidentally hits the speaker button. Agent Martinez, voice carrying federal authority loud and clear. Ashford, this is Agent Martinez with the FBI. Operation Willow is complete. We have warrants for both you and Karen Whitmore. Surrender yourself immediately at the federal building downtown. Image. Karen looks at Derek with absolute betrayal. Derek looks like a corpse. Then my daughter Zara steps forward. Zara, 12 years old, quiet but steady. She's staring right at Karen. Mrs. Karen. You always show up when Daddy's sad, but you also always leave right before the Miller family has problems. And right before the Chin family moved away. And right before Mrs. Johnson started crying every night. Image. Zara pulls out her phone, showing the cop a note app full of dates, names, and meticulous observations. Zara, you don't hate our pool party. You hate that we're happy, and you do things to families that make them not happy anymore. Last week you said, another problem family solved, just like the others. 23 down, and Mr. Reedmont makes 24. Image. Detective Blackwood stands up, the amusement gone, replaced by grim seriousness. Karen is pale. The script just flipped from local drama to organized crime. The scene darkens slightly as the two black FBI SUVs pull up. The stakes are now astronomical. Agent Martinez, flashing her badge, walking straight past the local cops to Derek. Mr. Ashford, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, racketeering, embezzlement of federal funds, and unauthorized access to classified Department of Veterans Affairs databases containing sensitive military family information. Image. The crowd of neighbors is stunned. This isn't just HOA, this is military espionage. Karen, screaming at Derek, desperate. Military records? Derek, I never embezzled anything. Tell them this is about community standards. Derek, being read his Miranda rights, his political composure dissolving into pure self-interest. The Sunset Ridge project was just a cover for Operation Silent Valley, a classified NSA surveillance program. I was selling the data to foreign real estate investors. I used Karen to create systematic harassment campaigns to force military families out of neighborhoods where the NSA had established surveillance infrastructure. Image. Karen looks at him. The betrayal complete. My mind is reeling, but I finally see the pattern. Me. Every family Karen targeted. We all had something in common. We either worked in city government, had ties to healthcare funding, or lived on properties you wanted for development. You've been using the HOA to eliminate opposition to your deals. Elena. That's exactly right. Jackson. Mr. Ashford owned 15 ghost houses through shell companies in this HOA, properties bought through fraudulent means, existing only to give him voting control and legal justification for the harassment campaigns Karen was running. Image. The final, gut-wrenching turn. Elena, to Derek. And your opposition to the new Children's Hospital wing? That was directly connected to the development and the federal healthcare database you've been illegally accessing to target vulnerable families. Derek, confessing, hold and clinical. I needed families to sell quickly and quietly. The traffic light malfunction that killed your wife, Lily, Mr. Reedmont, that was specifically ordered by me. Your house was the last holdout preventing my complete control of a neighborhood containing crucial NSA surveillance equipment worth millions to Chinese and Russian intelligence services. Image. I feel the blood drain from my face. Lily's death wasn't an accident. It was murder, ordered by the man standing in my yard in handcuffs. Karen, her composure utterly shattered, looking at Zara with wild, toxic grief. You know what? If that little girl hadn't gotten sick, if your family hadn't moved here with all your medical drama and your sob story, none of this would have happened. Image, the final, shocking confession. Karen, voice cracking, tears streaming, but her eyes are fixated on some past horror. My son, Tommy, was 5 when he drowned in our pool. I was inside, drunk on wine at 2 in the afternoon. I heard the splash, I heard him calling, and I finished my glass before I went out. He was gone because I chose alcohol over my child's safety. So don't lecture me about loss. Derek told me your military family connections were bringing foreign surveillance into our neighborhood, and I believed I was protecting other children by targeting you. Image, Detective Blackwood, who has seen everything, moves to tackle Karen as she lunges towards Zara, the sound of metal clicking into place. Cuffs. Derek, the final, cruel betrayal. Karen, you were the perfect weapon because you believed it. I chose you because your psychological profile, your guilt, your obsession, suggested you'd become dangerously fixated on targeting military families as a way of avoiding your own trauma. You were my unwitting accomplice in an espionage operation against American national security. 6 months later. Zara is 14 now, healthy, swimming laps in that same pool. I still sit out here some nights holding Lily's picture. But the tears are different now, they're tears of justice. Derek Ashford got life in federal prison plus 200 years for espionage, racketeering, and Lily's murder. Karen got 35 years with mandatory psychiatric treatment. The financial settlement helped establish the Lily Reedmont Foundation, and the scandal exposed the largest congressional espionage ring in American history, affecting over 400 military families across 25 states. Elena Hartford, the governor's wife, is now the director of Federal Database Security for Homeland Security. We found out our house wasn't just a home. It was the final barrier against the betrayal of military families, a quiet suburban block being sold off to foreign intelligence. Sometimes I wonder, did our tragedy, did Zara's survival, did Karen's breakdown, was all that horror just what it took for the truth to surface? The neighborhood is quiet now. The new families who moved into those 15 ghost properties are real neighbors. Military families who are supported, not surveilled. We learned the hard way. Sometimes the people who claim to protect us are the ones we need protection from most. Call to action. This story started with an HOA bully and ended with treason. It makes you wonder, how many neighborhood battles are just covers for something much bigger? Have you ever witnessed a small conflict that felt like it had deeper, darker roots? Share your story below. Tell me where you draw the line between community standards and systematic control. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and keep watching because the truth, it has a way of surfacing when you least expect it.